Hello and welcome back. Today is a part 2, so if you're interested in this Ghast and Magma Cube Farm, you'll have to check out my other video. The focus for today is on how to prevent Magma Cube spawns in this farm when you build it in the Nether Waste biome. In the Nether Waste, both Ghasts and Magma Cubes spawn together, and there is no good way to prevent the Magma Cubes from spawning. We're going to try to get around that issue by using a double piston extender. The solution I came up with is to use a ceiling with double piston extenders to push blocks down 2 blocks in order to prevent both ghasts and magma cubes from being able to spawn. So to demonstrate here, you see these honey blocks and glasses are 2 blocks down from the ceiling. And if we shoot this target block, they are retracted full up into the ceiling and your ghasts, and eventually you'll get magma cube spawns. And within a few seconds later, there you can start to see the magma cube spawning in. And if we shoot the target block again, they all retract back down, and the ghasts immediately stop spawning. And as soon as these magma cubes die off, no more will be able to spawn. The redstone for this build looks complicated, but it's highly modular and repetitive, so it's not all that difficult to build. So I'll go through the different pieces and how to put it all together. The first piece is the double piston extender itself. So this is a design that I found. It's very compact. It's 3 high, so 2 pistons, and you also have a line of redstone on top. It uses a solid block, 2 observers, and a note block. So in order to get it to double extend, you just need to power the redstone line here for more than just a couple ticks. A single tick won't do it, but if you use a button, or like we're using in the build below, if you use a target block, you see you get the double extension. So as you can see, this observer on the top here is looking up, so it's looking for this redstone to update, whereas this observer on the bottom is looking at this note block. So if I break out this piston, you can see the redstone side is hitting this piston. And so this observer is actually looking at the note block, which is updated by this observer, which creates just enough delay in order to create the double extension action. As we know, pistons have a push limit of 12 blocks, so the next step was to find a shape that uses 12 blocks or less in order to cover the most space possible that is easily tileable. So this is a design that I came up with. So the most of the glass blocks move as long as the honey and of course obsidian blocks are unmovable. So any honey face that is not attached to glass, you need a immovable block. So I'm using obsidian here, but you could also use something like a furnace. So to count the blocks, so you have 7 honey blocks as well as 3 glass blocks that are actually moving, plus your pistons. The spacing of the glass was chosen because magma cubes need a 3x3 space in order to spawn, so leaving a 2-block gap like this when extended means that no mobs will be able to spawn in this space. So it effectively raises the amount of space that you're making unspawnable by putting those glass blocks there. Now that we have our main structure designed, it's a matter of scaling it up. So first I decided to mirror it against itself. So you can see we have a double piston extender here and here. These are mirror images of each other. They come together and meet in the center. So they share a redstone source, and they both operate together as a unit, just like the one above. I did want to point out that we're using some repeaters here before each double piston extender. It's always a good idea to put a repeater to serve as a diode, just so that if you need to individually extend or retract one of these, this signal doesn't feed back and hit some of your other extenders as well. and that becomes very important when you start to really scale up. Next, we're going to take that build and we're going to copy it 16 times across. So that takes it to the width of the farm. So you can see as we're copying it across, we need to stagger where the actual double piston mechanism is. So for every duplication of it, I moved the extender mechanism over by 2 blocks when I reached the end, and I brought it back to the beginning, and continued that pattern all the way across for both mirrored sides of this build. And then the next step is to connect all of them together with redstone. So here we have the target block that we're using. Target blocks can actually emit a variable redstone signal, so it will turn on this redstone here, but it is important to re-strengthen this. So that redstone will come across. I re-strengthen it again every time it splits off. So it splits, it'll go this way, and you have your main redstone backbone going on each side, and then it will break off to go to each extender mechanism. And the exact method that you do this is kind of up to you, as long as every double piston extender does get a redstone signal. And here you can see that every extender, I do use a redstone repeater just to isolate that signal. So if these honey blocks were extended by accident, let's say if you punch that note block and they get pushed down by 1, and you need to get it synced back up, you may need to hit this button a few times. And in doing that, that button won't allow the signal on this redstone to go back up to here and affect your other units. I'll point out that oftentimes you're going to have an extender that is right next to your redstone backbone here, and when you do that, you do need to block the signal. So without this block here, that will jump down, and that will cause interference, especially sometimes depending on your redstone repeaters. You could actually create a loop and then it'll latch in and stay latched in. So you do need to make sure that those are broken up like that. And as the redstone continues down, just make sure that whenever your signal gets weak, that you reboost it up with a repeater all the way out to the end. So I'll take this point to talk about spawnable space that is on this redstone. So your pistons, your obsidian, and some of the other blocks in here, they are spawnable. So like these spaces here. So it is important to put glass or other non-spawnable blocks on top of all of those blocks. So the easy way to do this that I'd recommend, just so you don't forget any, is to do it in kind of 2 steps. So 2 blocks above where your obsidian is, you can just put glass in any place that doesn't have a block, and that'll look like this. And now this doesn't get all of the spawnable blocks, so it is also recommended that you put another layer on top of it that looks like this, and that will ensure that there are no spawnable spaces in your redstone mechanism. I'll also point out that they do have to be honey blocks, as slime blocks are spawnable, and as you can see here, if you replace the honey with slime, you will get spawns in the 2 block space that you create when you push those blocks down. So next, the final step is to take everything that we just built and tile it 3.5 times across on top of your farm. So you see the redstone, the red blocks across here that has your redstone on. You see 3 of them that are mirrored, just like the one that we just looked at, as well as another half unit. So this is actually the second half of the tile. And because this last segment is only half, there are a couple extra repeaters that are needed. Where you see there's only like 8 spaces between these 2, but you still need this repeater in order to keep the signal strong for this redstone backbone here that is only going to the one side towards the back of the farm. As you're building this, it's very likely that some of these are going to become out of sync. So see, I have it set up here. There is one that is extended down when all the rest are retracted. So just to demonstrate how important it is to have those buttons in place. So when you're walking across it on the top, you can see that this one here is the one that's extended down. That's why the glass is helpful to really see. And you can just come down here, you can break that one glass, you can hit that button, and then you can replace the glass. That's a good way to make it easy to get everything synced up. And one final note is that any place that your honey blocks might touch along the outside of your farm, you should have an unmovable block there as well. So here you can see I have essentially a wall of obsidian that covers all of the spaces where the honey blocks directly touch the wall of the farm. On this side, the honey is in by a few blocks, so it's not needed. So that is it for this modification to this ghast farm. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section down below. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing. Thank you and goodbye.